The movie begins with a young schoolboy named Quinn who visits an underground construction site in London, England. He's about to meet his mother, Karen, the site's project engineer, to discuss school matters. Their conversation gets cut short when one of the workers calls her attention regarding a problem with one of their drillers. It had hit a void. Karen goes to check and leaves the conversation about Quinn's scholarship hanging. Later, Quinn overhears the worker talking badly behind his mother's back. The worker criticizes Karen for being incompetent with the job and for having him enter the tunnel. Quinn returns the favor, so the man dares him to go inside the tunnel instead. With only a torchlight, Quinn braves the tunnel and arrives in a cavern with bizarrely textured walls. He guides the torch through the cavern. Amazed, Quinn starts touching the wall. Unbeknownst to him, he's stroking the scales on a dragon's back. His presence awakens the dragon from its slumber. After getting distracted by a ball of fire, Quinn looks up to see the gigantic creature towering over him. He is frozen in shock and is brought to reality when the dragon spits something in his eyes, irritating them. He runs for his life and tells his mother about what happened, but the workers refuse to take it seriously. As Karen rinses Quinn's face, the dragon breathes fire from the tunnel, incinerating the workers and everything inside the construction site. Karen and Quinn run for the lift, but before they can reach the ground, the dragon attacks. Karen ends up killed, leaving Quinn as the sole survivor of the inferno. That was the first dragon sighting in the year 2008. Since then, dragons have grown large in number and have taken over the entire world, while the human population gets driven close to extinction. Weapons of mass destruction used by world leaders to wipe out the dragons only damaged the planet until only a few survived. In the current time, the year 2020, Quinn is now a grown man and has become the leader of a small community of survivors. Under his leadership, the community managed to survive the wrath of the dragons by taking refuge in an underground slum and fighting hunger by planting crops in their fields. One day, a man named Eddie starts to protest about the lack of food, blaming Quinn for the death of his wife and son. Eddie insists on harvesting the crops too early, as the people are nearly facing their demise from starvation. Quinn explains they need to wait until the crops are fully ripe. They need to have seeds for the next planting season. He refuses to let Eddie go, fully knowing the threat the dragons pose. Later that night, Eddie steals the key to the Jeep and drives off to the fields with his family and others who support him. Meanwhile, the watchkeeper sees a dragon approaching and activates the alarm, waking Quinn and the others. As they prepare for the attack, Quinn learns that Eddie disobeyed his order to stay. Despite Eddie's terrible decision, Quinn cannot let any of his people die. At the fields, Eddie and his family start to gather the crops. Suddenly, a dragon attacks and burns the fields. They take cover amidst the fires that block the dragon's vision. They're about to lose hope when Quinn appears in his fire-resistant suit to rescue them. Quinn manages to get everyone into the vehicle, but the dragon lands before them. It begins to spit fire, killing Eddie's son, Devon. Quinn then takes them back to the slum. The sound of the alarms the next day wakes Quinn and his men. But the alert is not for a dragon. A group of tankers arrives outside the keep. A man named Zan emerges from one of the tanks and demands a conversation with the chief of the fortress. Quinn steps out of the gate and approaches Zan, who states the purpose of their visit. Zan wishes for Quinn to shelter them while they refit their artillery after losing some of his men fighting dragons. Quinn refuses, but Zan shows him a dragon's tooth and tells him the story of how he managed to kill a dragon for the first time. Quinn eventually agrees, but warns him not to do anything stupid. As Quinn takes them inside, a chopper arrives, which Zan's team also uses in their dragon-slaying operations. A woman named Alex and 3 more soldiers step out of the vehicle. Quinn wishes to know how exactly they kill dragons, and Alex explains that the soldiers jump out of the chopper before ensnaring dragons with nets. Quinn almost could not believe it, making him somewhat amazed. The watchkeeper spots a dragon approaching the keep the next day. Zan and Quinn team up to fight the dragon together. Van sends 3 of his men on bikes to set up the triangulators, which are verticals that will serve as their radar to track the dragon's location. 2 of the bikers manage to deploy their verticals on time, but the last one gets attacked by the dragon while climbing the hill. Without the 3rd vertical, Alex is flying blind. Quinn, who saw the 3rd biker, arrives at the 3rd spot and plants the vertical to give Alex a visual. Suddenly, the dragon appears behind the chopper and attacks them. One of the soldiers will serve as bait, while the other 2 will try to subdue the dragon with nets. Despite poor visibility, the bait soldier manages to lure the dragon, and the soldiers with the nets capture its wings. However, the dragon is too strong for the nets to hold. Van Zan and his men never expected it to be that powerful. The nets fly right by the soldiers, and the dragon suddenly appears. It eats one of them, while the other falls to his death, unable to open the chute in time. Van Zan radios the 3rd biker, and Quinn responds, saying the biker is already gone. Van Zan orders Quinn to play as the bait and lure the dragon to the quarry, where Van Zan awaits with an RPG. Van Zan fires the RPG toward the dragon, instantly killing it as it falls to the ground. A party is thrown later that night by Quinn's people in celebration of killing a dragon. However, Van Zan shows up teary-eyed and upset about losing 3 of his men. He says how disgusted he is by all of them before leaving. Quinn finds Van Zan near the graves of hundreds of his people. When he asks about Van Zan's true purpose, Van Zan tells him to follow. They meet with Alex, and there, Van Zan explains that they need Quinn's men to take down the alpha male dragon, thus putting an end to its species. Quinn refuses. Their argument results in a physical fight after Van Zan forces Quinn's people to join him. Van Zan overpowers Quinn and orders his men to march for London to take down the alpha male. Alex offers some medicine to Quinn before following Van Zan. Van Zan's team reaches London and meets the alpha male thereafter. With one fiery breath, Van Zan's men get reduced to ashes. Only a few survived, along with him and Alex. Meanwhile, Quinn comes upon their burning castle. The alpha male has found them and burns everything until Quinn, Creedy, Jared, and their surviving women and children take refuge in the underground shelter. Creedy volunteers to go up to look for any survivors, but the dragon breathes fire again, incinerating him. Quinn has no choice but to mourn the passing of his people, including his dear friend. As they recite their prayers, a set of rules they have to follow to be safe, they suddenly hear noises outside the shelter. It was Van Zan, Alex, and a few soldiers. Van Zan admits he was wrong and helps Quinn take the women and children to safety. Quinn then teams up with Van Zan and Alex to take down the dragon in London. He entrusts the safety of his people to Jared and then embarks on a journey with Alex and Van Zan. They reach London and see the horde of dragons on top of the buildings. With only 3 of them, they doubt they can even survive. Just then, the alpha male arrives and scares the other dragons away. Quinn then reveals that he knows an underground passage that can take them to the construction site without being detected or seen by the dragon. Unbeknownst to them, the dragon can sense their presence. Van Zan then lays out their plan. Split up and use explosive arrows to shoot the dragon's mouth before it spits fire. They begin to take their positions. However, Quinn learns that he has dropped his explosive arrow when he checks his pocket. Van Zan has reached his position and orders Alex to run to the tower, luring the dragon toward him. As the dragon approaches, Van Zan aims his crossbow and takes a shot, but he misses. Not only did he fail to kill the dragon, but he made it a lot more aggressive. The dragon charges toward Van Zan for another attack. As his final move, Van Zan pulls out his axe and jumps off the tower, hoping to decapitate the dragon. However, he ends up getting eaten instead. Quinn and Alex reunite, and Quinn tells her that they need to find the arrow that he dropped earlier. Alex spots it near a truck, and Quinn rushes to get it. In a state of panic, he is unable to arm the crossbow, making him a clear target for the dragon. Alex reveals herself to the dragon and distracts it, buying Quinn some time. Quinn finally arms his crossbow and fires it when the dragon opens its mouth to annihilate him. The explosion kills the dragon, and it falls lifeless to the ground. Alex approaches Quinn, and together, they leave London to start a new community with the rest of the survivors in a dragon-free world. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and click here for another movie recap video.